Hi, garden rebels. Whew. I am moving much more slowly these days, almost like moving through molasses or something like quicksand, just because it is so hot. Pacific Northwest, we're all good for the rain. I just checked my closet. I just put all my rain gear away, all the different types of rain gear. I was even trying on the other day at a store a sports jacket. I never wear a sports jacket. It just intrigued me, like, what is a sports jacket for? And I tried on a sports jacket that was made for the rain. So interesting. I thought, I wonder if there's anywhere I could wear that. But when it comes to heat, I have so little, much less battle knowledge on that. So I just tend to move a lot slower. And I'm resorting to my fifth grade technique on when I delivered newspapers. I remember it was 105 degrees. Back then, no big deal, 105 degrees. But I would stop and wet my t-shirt getting on my bike, going further on. So I'm kind of resorting to that, just spraying, putting things over my head, just staying out of the sunshine. Anyways, yesterday, big deal. I wanted to relay this to you because just to give you an idea on watering and your plants and the garden. So yesterday, I got the call. I always hate these calls. It always comes, usually it's late, like early morning hours or something. But the watering trucks that we have that go out and water all the Portland Metro hanging baskets, we've got a small fleet of trucks, of dedicated warriors that go out, make sure those baskets get the water, the fertilizer, the bug control that they need so they just stay blooming. And it's always a huge compliment because people will say, hey, how do you get those baskets blooming even during the high heat? Well, one of the techniques for us is, now I've shown you all how to water and fertilize and the bug controls, and I'll tell you again as well. But as far as the mechanics behind the scenes are, we've got a fleet of trucks, but we're kind of built like a fire department. So if one truck goes down, or if a water pump goes down, or something goes down, we have all the same pieces of equipment in waiting for those emergencies. And right now we have an extra spare truck just parked ready to go in case something happens. Oftentimes, we'll prep all the trucks before the season, get everything mechanically ready, engines, alternators, tires, brakes, emergency brakes, everything that could possibly go wrong. We get that prepped before the season. So when it's mechanical, sometimes things go down in the middle of the night. Normally, they water through, say, hey, I'm hearing some squeaks from my brakes or something, and then we'll bring it in to Les Schwab, and they'll fix it, and by the next day, we're good to go. Well, sometimes those repairs take a day longer, and we'll just go back to the emergency truck and use that, right? So, no big deal. We're doing that. Carlos's truck went down. Not went down, but just needed some more brake repair, because they carry heavy loads with that water. And he was using the emergency truck. Aldair's truck went down, literally. So something just, transmission fluid, something just crashed. It was in the middle of the street. And we go into our emergency protocols. So Carlos gives me a call. I take care of all the towing and the road-related emergencies. Luckily, it wasn't like 2 a.m. It was just, 8 p.m. Called up the guy towing, by the way, super cool guy, Tiger Towing. He's got this amazing truck that just lifted that whole truck right off the ground and towed it away. Got that taken care of, but we're short a truck. And so we had to go into emergency mode. Like, what do we do now? So we're doubled up the drivers on the trucks, hopefully, and then we had to reroute everybody, make sure that the baskets get water, because baskets don't care about trucks, they don't care about your schedule, they just want the water. So anyway, how to relay that emergency, just so that that I understand your emergencies as well about watering. So we got to get that water to the plants. And that's another thing too, by the way. I get lots of calls looking for that shade curtain, and whereas plants are pretty well adapted to the sunshine as long as the water is there. So they'll just transpire that water through the leaves and everything will just move quicker. Though, yesterday, I was at the McMinnville Garden Fair. It's put on by the McMinnville Garden Club. They're a really cool, fun group, and they put on this this garden fair, and they were worried about the temperatures for all the vendors. So, and they were very conscientious about that, but they decided to keep the fair going. Canceled because of COVID. This is the 20th year. We wanted to be out there in big support too, so shortened hours. We were out there, met a lot of cool gardeners. We were showing off these cool and unusual salvias. I'll show you those. Didn't mean to interrupt, but I promised you just now that I'd show you these salvias. Just a quick highlight of them. This is what we showed at the McMinnville Garden Fair. Take a look at this one. This one is called, oh my gosh, it's so hot, and now it's just blast furnace blowing warm air all over the place. And this is a salvia, by the way, salvia or sage. All the salvias are sages, but not all the sages are salvias. This is salvia purple and bloom. It's technically a salvia granitica. So take a look at that. The neat thing about this salvia, a couple of cool things about this, by the way, just as a diversion, is one, it has square stems on there, just square, like someone actually designed it. We want square stems here, and so just unusual that way. Other thing is, this is a haven, a godsend for hummingbirds. It produces a lot of nectar, and hummingbirds go crazy over this one. So, and so you'll see them working their way up and down all of your salvias here. So a neat one, especially also it has that deep, violet coloring on that. Just amazing, gorgeous, standout. You can put that in containers. You can cluster them in your garden as well. Cluster them in groups of 3 nicely. They do get about 3 foot high-ish. I want to say thigh high, maybe up to waist high. Those arching blooms like that. Just bloom well into October. This one, by the way, technically slides into home base as a hardy perennial. Other one, this is a salvia hybrid. This is a Roman red, much more in the annual type of salvias, salvia hybrid, but also heavy nectar producing. The hummingbirds love it. By the way, if you like to keep them blooming quicker, faster, is take the old stalks of the bloom and snap them off. Nice thing about the salvias is they just snap off so very easy. So just an easy job to do. Keep them blooming into September, October. I want to show you too, this is a salvia hybrid. This one's called, in a funny name, it's called Rockin' Fuchsia. Now, at the market, we sold a ton of these just because they were in bloom. I now have some that are just about to starting to bloom. So I only have a little bit to show you as far as the color. Funny, fuchsia is a color, but fuchsia is also a plant. So this is a great one to get all confused about. It has that magenta coloring on it. Again, heavy nectar producing. Hummingbirds love this one. This one's a tad bit shorter and stockier as far as the blooms are concerned. Nice arching blooms, just tends to be a tad bit shorter and stockier, and goes to town. So another cool one. And here, if you like white, a white garden or a touch of white unusual, take a look at this one. This one is called White Flame. Now this is a cross. This is what I think about gardening, by the way. This is a cross of salvias. Longus spicata salvia is a salvia found in the mountains of Mexico, so higher elevations. It is a very good perennial, and it's crossbred with the Salvia farinaceae, and that is a good annual type of bloom on there. And farinaceae is it has kind of a powdery coating on that, and you can kind of see on these here has that little bit of that powder coating. So a great look, lots of blooms, and slides under that home base as a perennial, one of those. So a great option for you. But I did notice, and this is my big question I'm going to try to find out today, was that we had the salvias, and during the high heat, just right before we took off or took down the booth, I noticed some of the salvias were actually looking wilting. I mean, they were wilting, and I know they got plenty of water. I felt the roots, and I know that it wasn't dry at any point in time. 99.99% of the time when there's wilt, there's been even a window of lack of water. This time I really doubt it. I'm wondering, with the high temperatures, 110 degrees is pretty intense, that there's just, I suspect that the transpiration rate, the water going out the leaves and into the air was literally greater than the capacity to pull up water from the roots. And I wonder if there is a temperature part on plants that say, hey, ding, 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 no matter what, we won't be able to survive this. So just interesting, just curious. Meanwhile, by the way, we are watering plants and keeping everyone happy during this crisis. And so I called the Department of Botany and Plant Pathology. I keep thinking physiology, but it's plant pathology, so it's the diseases of plants. And I talked to Cynthia O'Cam. By the way, they're a great group of really cool, geeky plant people. And now she's much more on the agriculture side, much more on the vegetables and the produce. And but I did ask her that question: is it possible that at a certain temperature, that the water that is transpired through the leaves, plants take up water from the hair roots down below, takes it up, goes up this xylem, and then gets transpired through the leaves? That's the kind of I don't want to say the engine, but this movement of water and this bringing in the CO2 into the leaves to make sugar. I mean, that is what makes our entire world go around. Without that little trick, by the way, we wouldn't have life on this planet. So it is possible during these really high temperatures, 110, today got to be 113. Uncrazy believable. But that expiration rate, the water leaving the leaves, is greater than, or at least temporarily greater than, the capacity of the roots to take up water. So we might see a little bit of wilt, Cynthia also mentioned that it is possible that if you have that, you know it's watered really well, that you can just temporarily shade that. Usually the next day during the evening time, we'll see that rehydrate nicely. So just keep an eye out that, not to panic. We might have to do some cleanup after all of this heat, but just keep things nicely watered and plants hydrated and yourself hydrated as well. So one more thing I forgot to mention to you is I sure appreciate yesterday. I was amazed that the gardeners still came out, still needed their plants. And you know, we've all been a little more accustomed to, with this high heat, to get things done quicker, faster, but folks still came out even during the high heat, and much obliged, much appreciated. And by the way, if you can't come out in this high heat, you can easily go to the app or to our online store and get what you need as well. So just a little tiny reminder that you can still come here if you so desire. Love to have you. Have some ice water together. Talk about plants. Show you some cool stuff. There's some cool stuff. And enjoy the heat together. Guys, that's the show for the day. Stay cool. Stay calm. Garden on. Live your passion. Stay in the shade. It's a lot nicer there.